What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, a trademark was made public that appears to show Sony having interest in what was once one of the last Xbox console exclusive, Sunset Overdrive, maybe going to PlayStation as well as possibly a sequel. We'll talk about that one here today. Also, we're going to be talking about Phil Spencer and xCloud maybe still going to other consoles, as an email was actually made public during this Apple Epic court case showing Phil Spencer talking a bit more about this. And we're also going to be going over a new Switch Pro controller that looks to be more on the premium side of things from a third party. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Activision and Toys for Bob. There was that story that we went over that appeared to show Toys for Bob mostly being moved over to working and running support with Call of Duty Warzone off of Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Well, Activision did actually comment on this to VGC, and we can see this from a spokesperson, where they say the studio is excited to continue working and supporting Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and more recently provide additional development support to Call of Duty Warzone. They went on a bit further, saying the reports of layoffs were incorrect, and what that could be is, since it's a lot of contract work in the industry, it could be people who had their contracts run out after Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time came out, and everyone kind of who's left is working support for the game and doing things like patches, which is something, as Activision has mentioned here, that is still ongoing at Toys for Bob. But it appears to be what I thought it was, which is they were being moved over to Call of Duty Warzone because they have to get the big premium Call of Duty game out still for this year, and they want to also have an update for Call of Duty. And I mean, that's where their money's made, is Call of Duty. So yes, they appear to be moving a lot of personnel over to make sure it all gets done. Also, while we're on the topic of Call of Duty, it does look like we do have the next Call of Duty game to look forward to this holiday, which shouldn't surprise anyone, but Activision did talk about this in their investors call. We can see that here, where they say, in particular, we are very excited for this year's premium Call of Duty release. Development is being led by Sledgehammer Games, and the game is looking great and on track for its fall release. This is a built-for-next-generation experience with stunning visuals across campaign, multiplayer, and cooperative modes of play, designed to both integrate with and enhance the existing COD ecosystem. We look forward to sharing more details with the community soon. And we also had Sledgehammer Games kind of post up on Twitter a little meme there showing they're back to life and, I guess, ready to present the next Call of Duty game for 2021, which rumors appear to point to them doing something with World War II, so we'll see that release. I assume as we work towards E3, they'll be showing off more and more of Call of Duty. They could do like a big reveal trailer ahead of time and then maybe show gameplay and kind of get us set up with a big marketing push towards the holidays. Oh, and if you've been playing Returnal, you probably have noticed that you're not able to stop in the middle of a run and just kind of quit out, maybe do like a little save or checkpoint there and then come back to it after turning your PlayStation 5 off. What we need to do is put it into rest mode. Well, there's one problem with that. See, because the PlayStation 5 will auto update in rest mode, and when it does that, it will close out your game. So a lot of people are asking Housemarque, hey, can we work something out here with some sort of temporary checkpoint or suspend feature where I can close down, even unplug my PS5 if I have to move it around or any of that? Well, we're still waiting for Housemarque to maybe come up with something there, but we can even see this tweet from Housemarque saying Returnal patch and patch notes will go live tomorrow. That's May 5th, so look out today at noon Pacific time. Set your PS5 auto update off to keep your run. I mean, this obviously sounds ridiculous, right? It's like, hey, the PS5 might auto update and then it'll close you out of your game. And that, I guess that's the most difficult boss in Returnal right now, is the PS5 auto update setting. Anyway, I have some more thoughts on the whole Returnal checkpoint thing, as well as some of the talk around it rendering at 1080p. That's going to go up on the second channel, Spawnwave Plus, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And guys, as some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and their new trademark for Sunset Overdrive. We can head over here. This was posted up, I saw, by Nebelian with the actual trademark documentation here, where they say it appears that Sony has registered a trademark for Sunset Overdrive, noting that Insomniac does indeed own the IP, but the original game, of course, has been on Xbox One and Windows only so far. So it was on Xbox One for the longest time, and people were calling for a PC version. It took about 4 years in 2018, from what I remember, and then it went to Windows, which was really cool to see that. But we can see this trademark here now being filed by Sony for Sunset Overdrive, that being April 2026. So it's still pretty recent, and it does make me wonder if Sony was kind of looking around and saying, well, can we even just do like a ported version of the game, move it over to the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, maybe include a bunch of DLC with it. That would be a really cool thing to see and potentially set them up in the future for some sort of sequel. And what's really funny about this is in that Twitter thread, I can actually see Angelus did post up what appears to be a list of, or a leak of some kind. People really got behind it and started looking at it because there are a few things listed here that we have talked about already, which, I mean, Sunset Overdrive Refreshed Edition, all right, sure. And then Sunset Apocalypse from Insomniac Games. I guess that's supposed to be the sequel. The one that I saw, though, was Sonic Colors Ultimate. Sonic Colors is getting like a remaster. That does appear to be happening. Dreams Plus is interesting, but from what I can tell, this was taken from 4chan, and well, most of the time the stuff posted up on 4chan for these leaks are incorrect. Very rarely are they correct. I mean, it does happen, so I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility for this to be real. I mean, look, Grand Theft Auto 5 is on there. Generally, when you see these lists, they're like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 6, 7, and 8 are all coming out next year. And while I do like the idea of a sequel for Sunset Overdrive from Insomniac, because I think Sunset Overdrive was heavily underrated just the entire last generation, so I'm glad when it came out on Windows, it jumped to the top of the Steam charts. People seem really excited about it. And the thing with that is Insomniac, they got a lot going on. I mean, they're finishing up Ratchet & Clank now, and then they're going to most likely start, or they've probably already been working on Spider-Man 2, right? The next big Spider-Man game. And there have also been talks of some other projects they're working on that would be outside of even something like a Sunset Overdrive 2. So I feel like right now, just getting the first one, Sunset Overdrive, before we start talking about a sequel, get that over to the PlayStation 5, maybe with some cool enhancements around the DualSense controller. I think that would work really well with it. And then maybe they could start exploring some other things outside of that with a sequel. Because right now, I'm telling you, Insomniac is rolling right now for Sony. But if they have, I guess, enough teams and they want to take a crack at Sunset Overdrive 2, that'd be awesome to see. Also, keep in mind, though, looking at this, it's a trademark. It's something that Sony would have to do if they want to then work into doing a game or a port or something of it. But sometimes they just do these trademarks just to make sure their bases are covered. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's happening, but I would actually be surprised at this point if they don't at least port Sunset Overdrive over to the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4 in some sort of complete edition. Next up, let's talk about xCloud on other game consoles. Now, this is something that's been mentioned before, that they did actually approach Sony and PlayStation to see if they get xCloud on there, and I'm sure that was a pretty quick conversation, but there are also rumors of Microsoft and Nintendo maybe getting past the initial talks for xCloud going to the Switch. And it's not out of the realm of possibility still, I think, for xCloud to indeed show up on the Switch, just maybe in a different form than what we've seen on something like PC or even on mobile phones. I think it'd be a pretty limited selection overall, mostly being first-party Microsoft games, but that would still be really cool to see that happen with, I mean, the lineup of studios that Microsoft has built. But we know at this time, at least from a publishing standpoint, the Microsoft-Nintendo relationship is pretty strong. Much stronger than it's been, obviously, in past generations. In fact, the other day, I saw Animal Crossing New Horizons is on the Microsoft Store. No, seriously, take a look. It's right here. And it's only $3. Like, how did that happen? It's $3 on the Microsoft Store. Well, here are the screenshots for it. So that looks about right. This is from Hugo Studio Lab. If you're unaware, on the Microsoft Store, sometimes you'll just see some of the weirdest listings. And I've gone over this before in the past with different videos where, seriously, like any title of popular games like Zelda will just be thrown on the Microsoft Store from these different companies. Not curated very well at all. But let's take a look at the email that was being sent between Phil Spencer and Tim Sweeney about xCloud. This was dated August 6th from Phil Spencer to Tim Sweeney saying, I owe you a bunch of things and I'm behind. I apologize for that. Just a lot going on, but that's not an excuse. You've obviously seen our Samsung announcement and now our back and forth with Apple. At the highest levels of Microsoft, we are committed to pushing on these policies and continue to expand our console platform's capabilities. You can chime in as you feel comfortable, but I did want to just let you know that I have your point on xCloud on other consoles. Haven't given up. Free to play outside of Gold, we will get there, and I want to partner with you in our store entitlement ideas as items I'm going to review with you to make progress. I'm committed to that. just behind. So, okay, interestingly enough, they do mention that free-to-play outside of Gold, and I'm sure that was a big sticking point for Epic and Fortnite, as they want that to be accessible by as many people as possible, and having the Xbox Live Gold requirement up, that's not great. And again, this was from August of last year, so obviously Microsoft had been trying to figure that out for a little while now, and hey, now you can actually access these games without Xbox Live Gold. But the idea of them not giving up on xCloud on other consoles is interesting. This is from August, and like I said, there have been a lot of rumors around Microsoft and Nintendo going back and forth around xCloud, and I do believe they have. So I am thinking that it's possible that that might be something that happens in the future, and there appears to be some rumors around Microsoft and Nintendo having some larger announcement or some big collaboration coming up towards the fall, as is being talked about and discussed online. So xCloud would be a possibility. It could also be just a game from Microsoft being put on the Switch, like we've seen with Ori or Cuphead or any of that. So it's something to keep an eye on. It was just very interesting to see this email, which, by the way, this Apple Epic court case is ridiculous. So much information is coming out from this, like how much money Epic was paying different smaller developers, indie developers, for their games to go to the Epic Game Store day one and all this stuff. It's very interesting how much money is, how different the payouts were, is what we'll say. I would go check that out. But this was just something to really go through and take a look at, that apparently Phil Spencer still hasn't given up on getting xCloud on other consoles. I guess that would be mostly the PlayStation and the Switch, so keep an eye out for that. Next up, let's talk about Google Stadia for some reason, because it looks like things are still not going great for the service when it comes to personnel and them shifting around the overall vision of this platform. Originally, it was supposed to be set up more in line with going against, I guess, Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony with their platforms, this just being more of a streaming solution for it, but they appear to have pivoted, which apparently the whole thing with Cyberpunk and Microsoft buying Bethesda made them go in this direction, where they wanted to mostly partner with third parties and give them an avenue to deliver their game to people who maybe just don't want to buy a console. Well, it looks like more and more people are leaving Google Stadia. We can head over here to VGC. This saying, a senior member of the Google Stadia team has left the company just a couple of months after Google closed down all its internal Stadia development teams. This from a Google spokesperson saying, we can confirm John is no longer with Google and we wish him well on his next step. This was from 9to5 Google. And it's not surprising to hear that, I guess, head of product for Stadia is no longer with the company when, I mean, they're partnering with third parties to deliver games. I don't think they're going to come out with like a Google Stadia box or Google Stadia stick. They didn't in the first place. The most they really did was come out with a controller. And I mean, actually, their controller wasn't bad, but they piggybacked off the Chromecast. And I always felt it was weird they didn't just come out with their own dedicated Stadia device. And that was always the point to me, that they weren't fully invested with the idea. And I'm not even talking about like a full system. Like, that would have been cool, sure, like to have another console on the market that could compete, but like even just like a little Fire Stick type thing that's like dedicated, has the Stadia logo on it. It says Stadia when you boot it up and all. It's not just something they had mostly laying around. But yeah, I'm not surprised to hear this. We'll see how long Stadia really lasts, because honestly, the news that keeps coming out, it's not great. I think the best thing they've done recently, I think they had Jedi Fallen Order go to like the Stadia Pro subscription, but like that's kind of like their big news that I've seen in a while. So the most we really hear about are them closing down internal studios, shifting their vision away from what they originally promised, and just more and more people leaving. So we'll see how long Stadia lasts here. Some people have said they expect it to be closed before the end of the year. I kind of think Google will keep it around at least through the holiday season into 2022, but then who really knows? And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the new Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and that's actually from PowerA. And for a while I've been saying, hey, I would like to see a company just go, you know what, we'll make that higher quality $100 Pro controller for the Switch to put it out there and see what people think of it. And it looks like PowerA was the company to do this. And I had pre-ordered one of these, and I was gonna keep it quiet until I did make a video on it and go over it, but Sean over at RGT85 did cover this, so I figure we'll talk about it here very quickly, and we can see some video of it as well as a bunch of pictures, and we'll take a look at some of the features. It does appear to have interchangeable faceplates, so it can be white or black on the front there, a little kind of like red accent around the thumbsticks. Apparently that's supposed supposed to help with any kind of friction when you're moving the thumbsticks around. So we'll see, I guess, just how overall that feels. They also mentioned top-of-the-line rubberized handles to provide for hours and hours of comfortable gaming. And the biggest thing here for me is going to be the quality of parts, because the features, for the most part, seem pretty standard on these higher-end controllers with kind of the paddles on the back that are completely mappable. It does have a headphone jack, but unfortunately, according to the documentation they have on their website, it only works when the controller is wired in, and that's just kind of the way it is with the Switch right now. It doesn't necessarily support audio through the air and Bluetooth, and that's just something we have right now with the Switch that we have to deal with. Otherwise, though, I didn't see anything about rumble. I'm thinking either there's no rumble or it's just the older rumble. It's not like the advanced haptic feedback. I don't know if there's licensing issues there or just working out how to make that function correctly on their end with Nintendo and the Switch. But I am very interested to check this one out. It even comes in like a little package that reminds me of that Xbox Elite controller. So I guess we'll look forward to this midway through May. If the pre-order date is correct, I should have it by May 15th or 16th, depending on ship time. And we'll see exactly what a $100 Switch Pro controller from PowerA will get you. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, what platform are you getting Resident Evil Village on? It does look like 27% of you said PlayStation, 13% said Xbox, 10% on PC. Hey, 2% on Stadia. All right, so we do have some Stadia viewers out there. Very cool. And then 48%, or about half of you, said, I'm not getting it just yet. And I was trying to figure out what platform I was going to get it on. I think I'm going to get it on the Xbox, mostly because I'm still playing Returnal, and, well, you can't put that in suspend mode if you have a good run going, so I might as well grab it on the Xbox Series X and just see how that turns out there. But I am very excited to be checking out Resident Evil Village this Friday, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it quite a bit on the podcast Saturday night. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Random Gecko saying, regarding Metroid Prime 4, I believe Nintendo's quiet about it because they don't want to rush the game just to satisfy the impatience of a few people. Since Metroid's reputation has gone down since Other M was released, Nintendo likely sees this as a chance to bring the hopes of the franchise back up. So I don't think Nintendo wants to really show too much about Metroid Prime 4 until it's like almost done. They showed it way too early in the first place, and then we had to go through an entire video of them telling us that they restarted development. At least if they didn't really talk about it before they were sure it was going to be like ready, they wouldn't have a situation like that on their hands. Instead, it'd be like Bayonetta 3 that just kind of disappeared. But at least we know it didn't necessarily restart development. It could have, they just didn't have to tell us about that. But Metroid Prime 4 pretty much has to be good. That's the biggest thing here, because Metroid Prime has never been like a great selling series. They could release a fantastic game and it still might not sell well. So I want to make sure, at least on the game side, it's really good, because then Nintendo can show up and say, look, we gave you the good Metroid Prime game. It's getting great reviews. People seem to like it. Now it's up to the fans to actually buy it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's Sunset Overdrive having a trademark filed from Sony? You think we're getting that game moved over to PlayStation and maybe even a sequel? Let me know about that one. And then also, what do you think about xCloud on other consoles? It doesn't seem like Phil Spencer's ready to give up just yet. And do you think that means we could actually see it show up on the Switch? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.